All right, we are live talking about Georgia football. I think there hasn't been a whole lot going on. I mean, we're going to touch on recruiting here in a little bit. But to me, the most fascinating part of the recruiting and the roster management and the roster building that Georgia has done in the past, since Kirby Smart has been here, is the blue chip rating, and I think it's probably a good barometer to know what teams are probably going to be in the playoffs. Usually, in the past, whenever there's a 14 playoff, you could usually tell who were the four teams who were going to be in the playoffs off of the blue chip rating. Now, there were obviously some anomalies, but most of the time you can. Georgia is the third, behind Ohio State and Alabama. And if you go to anybody, I think most people would pick Georgia or Ohio State as their national champion. I think it really varies on what part of the country you come from. So the last time, so right now it's at 80%. The last time that Georgia was at 80% was 2021 when Georgia won their first national championship. Let's see here. There was something I thought was fairly interesting. Alabama is a little bit higher with 88%. We play them.
Wait, they got 88% 4 and 5 star recruits. Alabama does.
Yeah.
What's Ohio State at?
90.
Wow.
Yeah. So and then you have Texas at 72%, Clemson's at 64%, Florida is at 63%. So it's pretty. That's why Georgia's favored in all these games, I think. So
yeah. And you also see it in comments like Feinbaum had, I think, earlier this week on. He was talking about it's going to be hard to duplicate what Saban in Alabama did, right? But he also said if there's a program out there that could do it, Georgia is poised to be that program. And I know I'm biased, and I know it irritates a lot of Alabama fans. And I mean, they should look at it as a compliment that we're basically trying to do what Alabama has done. We're not there yet, clearly, but
no.
Kirby. If you look at what Saban was able to do in terms of recruiting, that's the lifeblood of a program. And you got to remember, Kirby learned that stuff from Saban. And I think Kirby for years was the ace on the staff. And now if you look at this Georgia coaching staff and kind of what they put together, number one, they're all exceptional recruiters, A. B, a vast majority of the staff, whether it's on-field coaching, support staff, whatever, they're all graduates and alumni, including Kirby, Bobo, Muschamp, still close to the program.
Right.
Erickson, our former guard and center, is now part of the program. You got that much passion, that much skill set in terms of being really good recruiters, and then you saw what happened with, I believe it was Isaiah Gibson, right? Whenever they were doing the thing on who's the most famous person you could FaceTime, and they would pick up. And Kirby picks up and half joking, half that's just sort of Kirby's personality. Don't be calling me now unless you're planning on recruiting. And then immediately turns and starts talking about his mom. How's your mom? Well, looking forward to seeing her too. You're going to be on campus on Saturday. He's just an extremely down-to-earth, approachable guy, puts people in the league, got a ton of coaching staff that really cares. And that is the reason, if there is a program that can duplicate what Alabama did under Saban, it would be Georgia and Kirby Smart. But we also look at it, at the time, think about all the changes Saban went through. Kirby's going to have to successfully navigate that many changes to college football, if not more. Saban went from, BCS to the college football playoff, went from, when they played LSU years ago in the national championship, I think the final score was 6-3.
Well, that was the first game. It was 21-0. It was a terrible game. LSU didn't even cross the 50-yard line.
Yeah, it was a low-scoring game.
Yeah, the first game they played now, I think it was at Alabama. LSU won. It was like a 6-3 game, and then they played the national championship. And it was 21-0 Alabama.
Yeah, and LSU, like you said, never crossed the 50.
Yeah,
so he was that type of coach. And then when the rules started favoring, sort of the RPO and the fast offense, Saban said, well, heck, if you can't beat them, I'll join them. And next thing you know, you have Tua and all the receivers and Jalen Hurts. I mean, he built around, the changes in college football. And Kirby's going to have to be able to do that, especially when it comes to transfer portal and roster management. So for all those reasons, it doesn't surprise me. And I do think if you just look at it, I mean, to your point, there's been anomalies like a TCU.
right.
But for the most part, if you look at national championship and the playoff teams, they're always over 70%, right? On the
Right.
championship.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that, honestly, DeBoer's done, I don't keep tabs on Alabama that closely, but I give him credit because he's retained a good amount of the talent and got some other ones in the transfer portal. So I'm surprised Bama's at 88%.
Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I think those are he did a good job retaining guys that he had to retain. And Ohio State, here's the thing. They might have the highest. I'm not completely sold on Ohio State being a lot of people believe that Ohio State's just going to, win the national championship. There's to lose. I don't know, like their quarterback situation. I mean, Will Howard, he's not proven. He went to Kansas State. He did okay at Kansas State. What does that mean at Ohio State? It means nothing. You also have Oregon there, and they might be uber talented. They've been uber talented since Ryan Day's been the head coach there, and really they haven't done anything.
You also got USC, right?
Yeah, but I mean, USC's not really that big of a threat.
I'm not. All I'm saying is I'm making the same argument we've made about the Southeastern Conference. The gauntlet for Ohio State is going to be much more difficult than it has been.
For sure. And hey, they're going to have to go to Eugene, Oregon, and they're going to, how much depth does Ohio State have with that 90? I guess a good.
Must have a lot.
Yeah, but is that quality depth?
4 and 5 star.
Well, yeah, but what does that is that quality? I always look at that. The guy, there's been guys that have been 4 or 5 stars before, and they haven't done anything.
Well,
so, yeah. And here's there's a couple of things. I think Georgia being lower than Ohio State and Alabama doesn't really surprise me that much, because Kirby will look at guys who are undervalued, who played at smaller schools that have the same measurables as a 4 or 5 star. I mean, they just literally did it today. They got a 3-star from North Oconee.
North Oconee, Landon Rowland.
Yeah, and he's only Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech were recruiting. Those were his top 3 schools. He's a 3-star, but he's supposed to be really fast. Where have you heard that before? Lad McConkey.
It's a lazy comparison because he's white and he's really fast, but
obviously
same size. But
but and AD Mitchell, that's another. He was a 3-star. No one knew about him, and then he explodes onto the scene. So Kirby's gonna
Jordan Davis.
That's absolutely true too. He'll look at potential more so than the stars next to a guy's name. So if that is something that worries you, I wouldn't worry about it. I think it's a pretty pragmatic thing. Plus, also, I think if he takes chances on guys who are 3 stars, they're more than likely going to stay because they feel like, hey, this is a big time program. They gave me a shot, and now I'm playing. They're less likely to leave.
Right. Yeah. No, you said the same thing I was going to say is it's not only the blue chip 4 and 5 star where Georgia has really, and Kirby and the staff has really separated themselves, is taking guys that weren't as highly rated like you were talking about and we were talking about and making them ready for the league. And so I think it comes with the evaluation of talent. I think the staff does an excellent job of that. And number 2, I mean, of course, every team, but Kirby said it years ago. I think it was a kid that's running back out of Texas that had all kinds of trouble, and Deion Sanders.
Oh, Dion pleaded Zach Evans.
Yeah. And Kirby if you're not a character guy, he's going to walk away from you. He doesn't care how many stars you have. And
Right.
I understand that from a one player can spoil and cause a cancer, and Kirby's just not going to let that stuff be a part of his program.
Right.
But yeah, if you want to look at a program that I think has a shot at being the next Alabama in terms of a quote unquote dynasty, it probably is Georgia. Ohio State's right there. Alabama's, they haven't gone anywhere either, so we're not taking things away from them. I guess what we're saying is the top programs in the country, if you put a gun to most, if they're college football fans, regardless if they live in the Midwest, Southeast, West Coast, you put a gun to their head and said, give me the top 5 college football programs in America, I could almost guarantee you with maybe 1 or 2 deviations, everybody would come up with the same list, and it's because of the 4- and 5-star recruits.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I know Alabama fans are upset, and I feel really sorry for them. I really do. Bless their hearts. But I think they're afraid, and why they get so upset is because they know that Georgia's the threat and is the next one that is going to end up dethroning them. But I mean, at the same time, Georgia hasn't really taken that step.
Yeah, we ain't done shit, you know.
Yeah. So I want to see if Georgia takes that step this year. We'll see. I mean, I think it has to be this year and the next year to see if we took that step. Because right now, to me, I mean, sitting here in early or late June, early July, I would say Georgia is the best. I think Georgia's been the best college football program the past, I guess, now going on 4 years now.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So that's not that hard to say. But I think for the national landscape, I think they're going to have to assert their dominance in the next 2 years so that people would see it that way.
I totally agree. We've got to get the monkey off our back and get over the hump of Alabama. And then win at least one more championship in the next 2 years. And Georgia's built to do it. They're built to win it this next year. You got a quarterback that's coming back. You got an explosive offense. Kirby and him his staff being able to coach defense and the young talent that's over there. Then again, you look at Ohio State. I saw where they said that they put whoever they are put Ohio State's defense ahead of Georgia's. I watch a lot.
Are you talking about the college football NCAA?
I don't know what it was. I just saw that.
Yeah, you're talking. Oh, wow, look at that. It bled into your coverage anyway.
Yeah. No, I don't know where it came from. I just saw where somebody had Ohio State's defense better than Georgia's. And they may know more about Ohio State than I do, but I watch a lot of college football. And I'm just telling y'all, in my humble opinion, the Southeastern Conference, not just Georgia, but the Southeastern Conference, the speed, the size, the coaching that the defense side of the ball gets down in the Southeastern Conference, I wouldn't put any other defense. I don't give a shit. If we're talking about, I wouldn't put Ohio State's defense ahead of Alabama's. And I don't know anything about Alabama's. I'm just talking about in terms of players on the field, the speed in which we play the game in this conference versus.
I think Ohio State's about the only team where you can say that they can match up with an SEC team. Physicality-wise, I don't. And I think that's the difference.
Well, they did a pretty good job when we played them in the Peach Bowl. They matched up toe for toe.
But the defense didn't.
Well, well, you and I can argue, but I got to be honest. I think Ryan Day and the coaching staff got a little bit of the yips there in the fourth quarter. They got out coached.
Look, yeah, they choked it. They had an opportunity to kill us off multiple times and never could. But I don't know. I'm not that sold on Ohio State. I know everyone else is really, and I could be wrong. I really could be, but I'm just not sold on them. They're at least gonna lose 1-2 games. But I don't know, like the quarterback situation to me, and you have to have a quarterback to win a national championship. I think that's been proven multiple times. I don't know if they have a quarterback, so I am not that afraid of Ohio State. Oregon
kid from Ole Miss, though, the running back, didn't they get Junkins or whatever his name was?
Yeah. I mean, that's great, but I mean, they haven't won anything, so now's the time to do it.
Neither had Michigan till they did.
Well, I mean, again, Michigan shouldn't have really won it last year, but that's another story for another time. I think Georgia got robbed, honestly, and I don't really care what anyone says. They had one bad game. Whatever. We're going to revisit something that shouldn't be revisited. But yes, talking about that, EA ranked Georgia. Georgia's going to be great on the college football game. I'm excited. They're the number one offense in the country and the number 2 defense in the country on the video game. So,
really,
yeah, that'll be exciting. I know you're going to be pumped. I'm sure you will love the finish.
It's true in a video game. That's got to be true in real life. So,
I mean, they're pretty good at it. They have been. So we'll see.
I also had the ranking of the, what was it, 5 most intimidating stadiums to play in, or the top?
Yeah, that was wrong. That was really. They based it off of record and other things, but they're dynamic. They're going to change. But Kyle Field, I don't think is one of the. Auburn got extremely disrespected. I think
Auburn, I would go ahead of Texas A&M.
And Death Valley, I think, is probably the number 1. Jordan Hare would be up. Neyland should be up there.
Neyland should definitely be up there.
I should be over Alabama.
Oh, Tennessee?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think all 3 of those are better than Alabama.
No, I don't disagree. I've been to Neyland. I've never been to Bryant-Denny, so I could be talking about shit that I don't know, but I can tell you I've been to Neyland, and it was a day game, and it was friggin' unbelievably loud.
Well, I went to Bryant-Denny whenever it was COVID, so it doesn't really count. But, yeah, I don't know. Bryant-Denny didn't really – I don't know. It wasn't that imposing. I've heard it has been. But Georgia was up there, and I think Georgia can be intimidating when it wants to be. But whenever you have a bad home schedule, it's not that intimidating.
Well, here's what I would say. If we got to start putting caveats around it, maybe it's not. But you get a top 10 matchup at night in Athens and Sanford State. I put it up there in the top 5.
Yeah, I would. I think it's one of the best atmospheres. But when Georgia doesn't have, I mean, how many games we've had? The Tennessee game, we've had the Ole Miss game,
had the
Arkansas, huh?
How long? How far back are you talking about?
I'm going 2021. So Arkansas, that's about it. Those 3 games have been the 3 most marquee games since 2021. Those 3 were great atmospheres. I was more Tennessee in 22 was like that was probably the loudest I've ever heard that. I mean, continuing loudest, and it got louder as the game went on.
Yeah, when it started raining in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, and you could feel
time. Yeah.
And you could feel the stadium like shake the entire game. It was one of the more unbelievable. But that noon game against Arkansas, especially early, whenever we jumped on them, that was loud.
Yeah.
So, and then 2019 Notre Dame, that was pretty loud.
It was loud.
But the loudest pop that I've ever heard was that flea flicker against Mississippi State in 2017. It's still the loudest pop I've ever heard.
I remember why I wasn't there, but I watched it, and you could hear the pop. You could feel the intensity at that Arkansas game. You could feel the intensity through the TV. You could feel the intensity in the Tennessee game. Mississippi State early until when we jumped on them. So and then had the game.
That game, that one moment where that flea flicker happened, that still is kind of the more crazier moments I've seen. And then Lucas Oil Stadium, that was pretty loud too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But that's not going to be on our ratings. But I'm excited. I got the 3-day early release on it. I'm pumped. I know you will be. You can play anytime you want. Huh?
What does 3-day early release mean? You can start playing the game 3 days earlier than everybody else?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm really excited. That was my Christmas gift many months ago. I'm excited. All right.
I don't have anything to add to that.
Well, you can play anytime you want.
I'll pass. I've made it 53 years without playing a video game.
You've played NCAA with me. You probably don't even remember it, but you did.
I don't think I got really frustrated quickly because I didn't know how to make the controls work, and I hate losing.
And then also, I remember one time you walked in on me and I was winning. It was 21-0, like the first quarter, and you went 21-0. That would never happen at a Georgia game, and then walked out. So, anyway, subscribe, like, comment, and really, we've gotten subscribers. Keep subscribing. Help us out. We'll put more content out, especially during football season. We're right around the corner for SEC Media Days. There's going to be a bunch of stuff there. So remember to subscribe and like. And then also, we're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. And we're on Instagram. It's Terminus Sports _ATL. The only thing that's in caps is ATL. So give us a follow on those social media platforms. We're big on TikTok, by the way. We're stars. Right. Yeah. So I don't know. We're good with the kids.
Good.
Which is what Jerry Sandusky was really happy about. Let's talk about recruiting real quick, and then we'll get out of here. I think now is the time. Georgia fans should just all be ready for this season. Like June, early July is when the bulk of the recruiting class is going to be formed, put together. I know we've talked about it. You mentioned it. USC commit, now decommit, now Georgia commit. Isaiah Gibson, who's the best outside linebacker in the country, in Georgia's backyard. He's committing. Justice Terry's the other one, right?
Tyler J. Williams, right? Is that
that was the wide receiver? I'm talking about the defensive lineman that was USC, and he decommitted.
That was Isaiah Gibson, was of USC guy.
Yeah, and then there was the other kid.
Justice Terry, I didn't know he committed to. I didn't know he committed somewhere else.
He hasn't committed anywhere, but he's going to commit to Georgia.
Right. Yeah.
Then you have Tyler Williams. The strangest to me, and I think we both talked about it because it's right across the street from you. We grew up in the backyard. You went there. Milton, the kid, what's his name? CJ Wiley. One of the strangest recruiting moves I've ever seen. I don't really understand it. Why don't you go ahead and explain it?
Yeah, so Milton, unlike whenever I went there and whenever I played, we did not have any stars. Forget 5 stars. They've got 2 5-star offensive players. There's one that's a tight end, and he is committed to Georgia. His teammate, this CJ Wiley guy, was thought to be leaning Georgia.
They had him crystal ball to Georgia.
Yeah, and then decides to commit. I think it came off of a visit to USC.
Or FSU, you mean?
I'm sorry?
FSU?
Yeah. And so, yeah, sorry. So I don't know if he felt pressured or what, but you were talking about it, and then I've heard other people talk about it as well, that he said that his recruiting is still open. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I think if history tells us anything, just because a kid is committed somewhere else before signing day, if Georgia has targeted you, and especially if you're in state, Kirby's going to keep recruiting you.
Yeah.
And so I would not be surprised if that's not, I don't know any inside information. I know nothing. But when a kid says my recruitment is, I've committed today and my recruitment is still open, I've got a teammate that's going to Georgia, I've been crystal balled to Georgia, and Kirby, if nothing else, is persistent, him and that staff, I have a feeling that that's not a done deal. But yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go up, considering that Milton is literally a quarter of a mile of the high school up the road. I'm going to go watch him play it. Now, I did see him practice because, as you know, I did some scouting as I was running around the track. That's where I go to do my exercise. And for whatever reason, the spring practice was actually held on the middle school practice field where I went in the tracks around there where I go run. The tight end, and sorry, the name is escaping me. Dude,
real deal.
On the hoof, like just looking at, like you can look out with 80 players being out on the football field and say, dude, who's that kid? Is he going to be a nose guard? And then the next thing you know, you see him lined up in the slot, just breaking kids' ankles out in the middle of the field. And you're like, holy shit, that guy's big, athletic, strong, fast. He's going to be a good one. But yeah, that was a surprise that I think it took a lot of people by surprise that CJ Wiley committed to FSU. And then those comments, if I was Florida State, I wouldn't feel real good about that.
No, I wouldn't either. But I mean, that's just where we are in today's age of recruiting. It's kind of weird. But I would keep an eye out, especially the next couple of weeks, on Georgia getting some bigger names. And I think you're going to end up looking at Georgia having one of the better classes it's ever had when it's all said and done. From everyone that I've
when everybody else is in vacation mode, is in June and July, is all the work and stuff that he's put in, as it starts to pay off and these signings matriculate in.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of working hard, we're working hard. So remember to like and subscribe, comment, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Terminus Sports, ATL. Just please remember to subscribe so we can do.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
takes maybe another second to hit the subscribe button, and it really does mean a lot. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, and I mean, who doesn't want to listen to us pontificate about Georgia football? To me, I think everyone should.
I can say your mom.
Well, yeah, I don't know if she would like it, but anyway, all right. For your shipping needs, go to Unishippers Atlanta. And who'd you ask for?
Let's ask for Marcus Gore today.
All right, ask for Marcus Gore. All right, and we'll see you on the other side.